My husband threw divorce papers at me during his birthday party, calling me a charity case in front of everyone. What he didn't know? I wasn't just some poor girl he rescued. I was the CEO who held his entire empire in my hands. And tomorrow, I'd prove it. If you've ever been underestimated, stick around. This is my story of the ultimate comeback. And before we get started, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon because you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this gets wild. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and immediately know you don't belong? That was me, standing in the corner of my own husband's birthday party, watching him laugh with people who looked at me like I was the help. The penthouse was packed with tech billionaires, socialites, and influencers. Everyone was dressed in designer everything, dripping in jewelry that cost more than most people make in a year. And there I was, in a simple black dress from a department store, holding a glass of champagne I hadn't touched. My husband, Trevor, was holding court in the center of the room. 40 years old today, and he looked like he owned the world. In his mind, he did. He was the founder of Summit Tech, and everyone knew his name. But what they didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that his entire empire was about to crumble. And I was the only one who could save it, or destroy it. I watched him lean in close to her. Brooke, his mistress. She was everything I pretended not to be. Tall, glamorous, wearing a dress that probably cost $20,000. Her laugh was loud and performative, making sure everyone noticed her. And trust me, they did, especially when Trevor's hand found the small of her back and stayed there. I should have left right then. But something kept me frozen in place. Maybe I wanted to see how far he would go. Maybe I was tired of pretending. Maybe I just needed to witness the moment that would finally set me free. Trevor clinked his glass, calling for everyone's attention. My stomach dropped. I knew that look on his face, that smug, self-satisfied smile that said he was about to do something he thought was clever. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight," he started, his voice booming across the room. 40 years old. Can you believe it? And I've spent the last 5 of those years married to a woman who taught me a valuable lesson. People were smiling, expecting some sweet tribute. I knew better. "She taught me that charity has its limits," he continued, and the room went quiet. I thought I was doing a good thing, you know? Marrying someone from nothing, giving her a better life, but here's what I learned: you can't build an empire with dead weight. Someone gasped. Brooke was smiling, and Trevor pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. "Angela," he called out, finding me in the corner. Every head turned. "These are divorce papers. I'm setting us both free. You can go back to whatever simple life you came from, and I can finally build the life I deserve." He said it like he was doing me a favor, like I should thank him. The papers hit my chest and fell to the floor. I didn't bend down to pick them up. I just looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw a man who had no idea what was coming, a man who thought he knew everything but understood nothing. I walked out of that penthouse with my head high. I didn't cry. Not yet. I made it to my car, parked 3 blocks away because I never wanted Trevor to see what I actually drove. I sat behind the wheel of my Honda Civic, the car I kept specifically for this double life, and that's when the tears came. 5 years. 5 years of playing small. 5 years of letting him think he saved me. 5 years of biting my tongue while he explained basic business concepts to me like I was a child. And for what? To prove that someone could love me for me, not for my money? Well, I proved it, all right. He didn't love me at all. I wiped my tears and pulled out my phone. My assistant, Nina, answered on the first ring. "It's time," I said, my voice steady. "Schedule the meeting for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. And Nina, make sure Trevor's team confirms. This deal closes tomorrow one way or another. Let me back up. Let me tell you who I really am. My name is Angela Hartwell, and I'm the CEO and founder of Hartwell Industries. Maybe you've heard of us. Maybe you haven't. We're not flashy. We don't make apps or social media platforms. We build the infrastructure that makes the digital world possible. Server farms, data centers, fiber optic networks. The boring stuff that nobody thinks about but everyone needs. And we're worth $50 billion. I built it from nothing. foster care kid, worked 3 jobs through college, started my company at 25 with a $15,000 small business loan. I made my first million at 27, first billion at 32. By the time I met Trevor, I was one of the most powerful women in tech, and absolutely exhausted. You know what comes with money like that? Vultures. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. I couldn't tell who liked me and who liked my bank account. Dating was a nightmare. Every man either wanted to use me or felt threatened by me. I was so tired of being Angela Hartwell, CEO. I just wanted to be Angela. Just a woman, just a person. So I created her. Simple Angela. The girl who worked as a server at charity events, the girl with a modest apartment and a practical car, the girl who clipped coupons and worried about bills. That Angela met Trevor at a fundraiser where I was undercover, checking out potential business partners while pretending to serve drinks. He thought he was so smooth, slipping me his number, telling me I was too beautiful to be serving champagne. He had no idea I owned a 20% stake in the charity hosting the event. He asked me out, and I said yes. Not because I was swept away, but because he seemed kind, normal. He didn't know who I was, which meant he couldn't want me for what I had. We dated for 6 months before he proposed. He told me he wanted to take care of me, give me a better life. I said yes because I thought I'd found something real. Someone who loved plain Angela, not powerful Angela Hartwell. I kept my worlds separate. My core business team knew the truth, but they signed ironclad NDAs. I had my small apartment where Trevor would visit, my Honda Civic, my carefully modest wardrobe. Meanwhile, my real home sat empty across town, a sprawling estate I'd bought with cash, my real closet full of custom suits, my real cars in a garage Trevor never knew existed. For 5 years I lived 2 lives, and it was exhausting. But I told myself it was worth it. I was protecting something precious. I was keeping love pure. Except it wasn't love. Not really. Because Trevor didn't love me. He loved the idea of me. The charity case he rescued, the grateful woman who owed him everything. He loved feeling superior, and I let him because I was so desperate to believe that someone could love me without an agenda. But here's what I learned during those 5 years. While Trevor was parading me around as his pet project, his company was failing. Summit Tech had been riding high when we met, but Trevor wasn't as smart as he thought he was. Bad investments, poor management, ego-driven decisions that cost millions. By year 3 of our marriage, his company was hemorrhaging money. By year 4, he was in serious trouble. And by year 5, he was months away from bankruptcy. I knew all of it. You don't build a $50 billion empire without knowing every major player in your industry. I had analysts tracking Summit Tech. I knew about every bad quarter, every failed product launch, every desperate pivot. I watched Trevor come home stressed, snapping at me, taking out his failures on the woman he thought was too simple to understand. I could have helped him. One conversation, one revelation. Hey, honey, funny thing. I actually run the largest infrastructure company in the world, and I could solve all your problems. But he never asked. He never confided in me. He just patted my head and told me not to worry about things I couldn't understand. And then came the deal. The $12 billion contract with a mystery company that could save Summit Tech. Trevor had been chasing it for months, not knowing he'd been chasing me. My company. Hartwell Industries. The irony was delicious. His salvation had been sleeping next to him every night. I woke up the morning after that birthday party in my real bed, my real home. I stood in my real closet and selected a charcoal gray suit that cost more than Trevor spent on Brooke's birthday gift last month. I had my hair and makeup done by my regular team. And I looked in the mirror at the woman I'd been hiding for 5 years, Angela Hartwell, CEO Billionaire, the woman who built an empire while everyone underestimated her. Nina met me in my office at 7 a.m. We went over the contract terms one final time. Everything was in order. Everything was perfect. Trevor's team had confirmed, 9 a.m., final signing of the biggest deal of his career, the deal that would save his company. How do you want to play this? Nina asked me, concern in her eyes. She'd been with me since the beginning. She'd watched me create this double life and had questioned it more than once. Professionally, I said, this is business. Just business. But we both knew it was more than that. At 8:45, I got the call that Trevor and his team had arrived. They were in the main conference room, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the one designed to intimidate. I made them wait, not out of spite, just because I could. At 9:03, I walked into that conference room with my legal team behind me, and I watched Trevor's face go through every emotion a human can experience in 5 seconds flat: confusion, recognition, shock, disbelief, and finally, absolute horror. "Hello, Trevor," I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Shall we discuss this $12 billion deal?" He couldn't speak. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. His vice president of operations kept looking between us, trying to understand what was happening, and Brooke, who'd apparently decided she belonged in this business meeting, had gone completely pale. "Angela, what?" Trevor finally managed. "Miss Hartwell, please," I corrected him. "In this building, it's Miss Hartwell. Now, if you've reviewed the contract terms, we can proceed with the signing." I watched him piece it together, the company name he'd been hearing for months. Hartwell Industries, my middle name and last name, the mysterious CEO no one had ever met in person, the $50 billion empire that seemed to appear out of nowhere. It was me. It had always been me. You own this company?" Trevor's voice was barely a whisper. "I built this company," I corrected, "from the ground up, started it 12 years ago, 3 years before we met." His lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently. Trevor waved him off, still staring at me like I was a ghost. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. I smiled. "You never asked. You were too busy explaining to me how business works." The meeting proceeded because it had to. My lawyers presented the contract. Trevor's team tried to focus, but everyone could feel the tension. I went through every clause, every term, every condition, and I watched Trevor realize that I held all the cards. The deal was fair, harsh but fair. His company would survive, but barely. He'd have to give up significant control, accept terms that would have made him walk away if he had any other option, but he didn't have another option, and we both knew it. "Your company is $14 million in debt," I said, sliding a folder across the table. "You've been hiding it well, but not well enough. You have 6 months before your major creditors call those loans. This deal is the only thing standing between Summit Tech and bankruptcy." Trevor looked at the documents, numbers he thought were secret, laid out in black and white. "I could have helped you," I continued. "At any point in the last 2 years, I could have stepped in, but you never came to me. You never saw me as someone who could understand, let alone solve your problems. You saw me as your charity project." Brooke spoke up then, her voice shrill. "This is insane. Trevor, let's just go. We don't need this deal." I turned to her. "Ms. Carson, with all due respect, you're not part of this negotiation. And yes, Trevor absolutely needs this deal. Without it, Summit Tech closes by March, which means his net worth drops by about 98%. I hope you love him for him, because the private jets and penthouse are about to disappear." She shut up fast, and I saw doubt creep into her eyes, the kind of doubt that told me exactly what kind of woman she was. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, turning back to Trevor. "You're going to sign this contract. In return, I'm going to save your company. I'm also going to sign those divorce papers you threw at me last night. We'll split our assets, which is adorable since I have approximately 400 times more wealth than you do. But I'll be fair. You keep the penthouse, your cars, your pride." "Angela, I'm not finished," I interrupted. "I'll keep your secrets. Your investors won't hear from me about how close you came to losing everything. The press won't get leaked documents about your company's real financial situation. You get to keep your reputation, but in return, you sign this deal, you sign the divorce papers, and you give me one thing." "What?" he asked, and he sounded broken. "An apology," I said. "A real one, not because you got caught, not because you need this deal, but because you treated someone who loved you like she was worthless. You made me feel small when I was standing right there as your equal. You threw away 5 years because you couldn't see past your own ego." The room was silent. Trevor's team looked at their hands. Brooke was texting someone, probably already looking for her exit strategy. And Trevor looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time ever. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Angela, I'm sorry. I was cruel. I was blind. I was everything you're saying, and you deserved so much better." I nodded. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. "Sign the contract, Trevor." He signed. That was 3 months ago. Trevor's company survived barely. He's no longer the golden boy of tech. He's humbled, diminished, but still standing. Brooke left him 2 weeks after the signing, when she realized his billionaire status was greatly exaggerated. "I heard she's dating a cryptocurrency founder now. Good luck to him. As for me," I stepped into the light. Angela Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Industries, no longer hiding. The media had a field day. Secret CEO lived double life for 5 years. Tech billionaire hid identity from husband. The think pieces wrote themselves, but I didn't care about the headlines. I cared about waking up in my real home, wearing my real clothes, living my real life. I took meetings as myself. I spoke at conferences. I let myself be powerful, publicly, unapologetically. And you know what I learned? The right people aren't intimidated by your power. The right people celebrate it. I'm dating again, but this time as myself, full self. And it's terrifying and exhilarating and real in a way that 5 years with Trevor never was. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it, hiding who I was, wasting 5 years, the humiliation at that party. And here's the truth. I don't regret the lesson. I needed to learn that dimming your light doesn't make you more lovable. It just attracts people who prefer you dim. Trevor didn't fall in love with me. He fell in love with a version of me that made him feel superior. And I let him, because I was so afraid that the real me was too much. Too successful, too powerful, too intimidating. But too much for the wrong person is just right for the right person. I'm not hiding anymore. Not my success, not my wealth, not my power. I built an empire and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm a black woman in tech who started with nothing and built everything. And if that intimidates you, that's your problem, not mine. The best revenge isn't crushing someone. It's becoming so undeniably yourself that their opinion stops mattering. Trevor threw divorce papers at me thinking he was setting himself free. What he actually did was set me free. And I've never been more powerful. So that's my story. Sometimes the person who underestimates you the most is the one who needs you the most. They just don't know it yet. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment below telling me about a time someone underestimated you. And if you believe in living your truth and never dimming your light for anyone, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories of comebacks, revenge, and women who refuse to be counted out. I'm reading every comment, and your story might just be featured in the next video. Until next time, remember, know your worth and never let anyone convince you you're less than extraordinary.